Been a lot of conversation in the last few weeks about schools. Will people be going back to schools? Well, the University of Notre Dame has its idea. It plans to resume in-person classes on August 10th. Notre Dame is one of the first major universities to announce how it will reopen campus after the coronavirus pandemic shut down universities nationwide. Classes will start 2 weeks earlier than usual at Notre Dame, and they will forego a fall break in October so students can complete the fall semester by the Thanksgiving break. The university hopes doing so will reduce the likelihood that students will go home for Thanksgiving and then bring the virus back to its campus, so the semester ends at Thanksgiving. Students will not return to campus then until January. In a similar move, the University of South Carolina on Sunday announced plans to bring students back to campus August 20th, have them leave before Thanksgiving, and then take final exams online. So, Joe, we're seeing the early ideas about how to get people back to school. Obviously, this doesn't address mass elementary school, middle school, high school, public schools across the country, how and when they'll go back. But a couple of colleges now have their policies in place.
Well, yeah, they do. But obviously, Willie, in our day, nobody at the University of Alabama or at Vanderbilt would ever allow us to take our final exams at home online.
No,
it would be a disaster.
No.
Let's bring in right now member of the member of the Budget Committee, Republican Senator Mike Braun of Indiana. Before coming to the Senate, Braun spent 37 years running a logistics and transportation company, and he knows a lot about getting supplies to people who need them. He also went to Harvard Business School, so already you know he's a lot smarter than I am. So we should listen to him on moving things around. Hey, Senator, thanks so much. You know, the news from Notre Dame, it sounds like good news. And I certainly hope it happens because, you know, we've all got friends and loved ones who have children who want to go back to school in the fall. Have you had any discussions with Notre Dame or any discussions with colleges across the state of Indiana? Because I know that a lot of college administrators are really tied up trying to figure out exactly how to get this right. What would you recommend to them to have school open but do it in the safest way possible?
So the university president that I got to know the best would be Mitch Daniels. And when I heard that just a moment ago, Mitch has kind of reset the bar for all of higher education in terms of maybe how to think out of the box. So I think he was out maybe 10 days, a couple weeks ago. And I think he's frozen tuition in Indiana at Purdue for maybe 9 years, which how can you do that? But it's guys like him that motivate me. And real brief aside, I started watching your show when you had Dr. Tom Coburn on frequently. Did a honorary speech to him last night on the floor. I really believe guys like Coburn, like Mitch Daniels, are who I'm going to look to see how we change this place. Because when I got here, it was a government shutdown. Then we got into impeachment, and then coronavirus. And you know, I was probably the senator most outspoken about reforming health care. Maybe Chuck Grassley as well. It's a broken system. First senator to join the climate caucus on the Republican side. Alas, I'd like to get back to that. But Notre Dame, IU, and others, I think, are going to follow Mitch Daniels' lead because he's kind of setting the bar in the Midwest.
Well, Mitch is a good person to follow, and thank you so much for your kind words on Tom. Tom was a good friend of mine, and the thing I loved about Tom Coburn is he didn't care what party was proposing something. He voted based on what he thought was right, and just an incredible guy. We miss Tom an awful lot. So if you don't mind me asking this, I'm going to stay on this college thing for a second because I know it means so much to parents and especially students. We have a loved one, someone that Mika sort of adopted as a daughter since one of her best friends died, who is starting up school in the fall. She missed her graduation this spring, obviously, like so many people did. But I love the idea of kids going back to college. I think it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of the college administrators I talk to are so worried about dorms. And again, I hate to just kind of burrow in on this, but I'm wondering if you've talked to anybody and can give us any insight. how do we make dorm life safer? Because as you know, if you've been in dorms, if you've had kids that have been in dorms, man, one kid gets the flu, everybody in the dorm gets the flu. What do we do with dorms?
So that's going to be a complication, just like entertainment and hospitality in general, because they rely on, venues that have people elbow to elbow. When you look at talking about like a smart restart or what you can do even in the context of dorms, you could, if you had the discipline, and of course at that age I'm wondering whether that would come into play, you could pay attention to the rules. All along I've said listen to the experts on the health care end of it, but be a little entrepreneurial, a little agile when it comes to like how would you manage that. I think it's going to be critical because it's welling up across the country that we need to figure out how to do it, and I think deans and university presidents are going to have to do maybe what they haven't done before and maybe take a cue from Mitch Daniels. We can do both things at once. My wife had a business in our downtown. The whole downtown was shuttered because essential or non-essential. Many of those businesses didn't have high-density traffic, probably could have stayed in business if you pay attention to the rules. I believe we can do both at the same time, and if we can't, this is going to belabor itself into the distant future where the economic carnage will start to surface.
Well, and of course it has started to surface. So many Americans are suffering right now, and so we do have to do it. I go back to what the doctor, our previous guest, just said. We've got to do it. Everybody needs to be responsible. Everybody needs to socially distance, wear a mask, use proper hygiene. But if we do that, I think Americans are ready to get out again and restart this economy. And of course, as you said, for economic reasons, they need to. Can I ask you a couple quick questions? One, how's Indiana doing? Rate of infections? I know it's not as obviously not as dense as other areas, but Indianapolis in specific. How's Indianapolis doing right now? And also, I've been worried throughout this crisis about rural health care. My brother works with a lot of rural hospitals. I represented rural hospitals. They're often overlooked. And I'm worried that even a slight uptick will really slam rural hospitals. How are the rural hospitals around Indiana doing?
My hometown happens to be the regional hospital, and we were blessed until recently because we got a poultry processing plant where there were hardly any cases. Now it's flared up due to that, but they're doing everything that needs to be done as a business to contain it. Indiana, our governor, I think did it correctly because he emphasized the health components first and then had a game plan for reopening. That occurred a couple weeks ago. Indiana is a state, like many, where we've got a top 15 metro area in Indianapolis, a little bit of concentration up in the northwest by Chicago, but most of our counties of 92 socially distanced by the way they live their lives, and we pay attention to the rules there. So it's going, I think, well. There's that anxiety about what the disease with its peculiarity holds, but that general feeling that, yes, we can pay attention to the rules and we can reopen, and I think the governor's hit it about right in Indiana.
Senator Braun, it's Willie Geist. Good to have you on this morning. I know that the state of Indiana coming up this weekend will open even further on, I believe it is on Sunday. They're going to have 75% capacity in retail outlets and malls and restaurants and places like that. And you were talking earlier about finding that balance between listening to the experts on health care and public health and having a little of that entrepreneurial spirit. Do you worry at all, though, by opening up to 75%, that some of the entrepreneurial spirit, which we all want to see, obviously, may eclipse the warnings from public health officials and you could have another outbreak, not just in Indiana, but in any state that's going out that way?
You know, in building a business over the years, one of the hardest things was to try to grow it and maintain fiscal discipline as you do. When we did that, coming through 9/11, the downturn in 08, 09, and even this time, good things can come your way even in bad situations. I went out to eat Friday and Saturday at 2 restaurants that we love. I was so impressed. 50% was the rule currently. They eliminated 50% of the tables, so there was no, ability to try to cheat on the rules. Both places, mass wiping things down. I really believe businesses, it's in their own best interest to protect their customers and their employees. So yes, there's always risk. You saw the scenes from Wisconsin where younger kids were in a bar respecting none of the rules. I think it'll show up in places where you don't do 2 things at once. Until we get a vaccine and herd immunity, it's going to be a different paradigm, and I think we'll get used to it. I really do.
All right, Senator Mike Braun, we thank you so much for being with us. Hope you'll come back very soon, and I want to thank you again personally for not only myself, but my family and a lot of friends of mine on Capitol Hill still for remembering our dear friend Tom Coburn last night. It really means a lot.
Well, you're welcome. That's an easy thing to do. He was kind of my mentor even before I considered running for senator in terms of what an ideal politician should be like.
It's a great mentor to have. Senator, thank you so much, and please be safe. Stay safe. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.